Mhm. Okay, nice. Let's wait for 5 more minutes till everyone will join. If from the participant, if anyone would like to just introduce themselves, feel free to unmute yourself and introduce you. We are always welcome. Anyone? Hello, hello Tia. Hello Katie. Hello
Hi.
Nisila. Hello,
Hello.
how are you? Mm-hmm.
I'm good. How are you?
Yes, doing good. Great. Mm-hmm. So
Awesome.
you're mm-hmm. So would you like to introduce yourself just to have a quick chat?
Sure, yeah. My
Mm-hmm.
name's Katie. My pronouns are she, they, and I'm a full stack software engineer and UX UI designer at a company called Loop.
Mm-hmm.
I also am a robot choreographer. So I
Oh,
choreograph Boston Dynamics robot dog, their spot dog for people's music videos. And
uh-huh.
yeah.
Oh, that's great. Cool. Something new I can see. Mm-hmm.
Yes, something
Great.
very
Yeah.
new, very different.
Yeah. Very different. So
Yeah.
yeah. Nice, nice. Good to see many people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Nice. Hey Tia. Hello. Azmer. How are you guys? Great. We have started room slightly early today, so we'll wait for a few more minutes to people to join. Hey, hi Lala. Hi, Kaleb. How are you?
It's all right. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Mhm. Great. Nice to see many new names on every event. Mhm. Great. Hey Lee, how are you? Hey Yip, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing good. Great. You're from Vancouver?
I'm from
Based in
Hong Kong.
Vancouver?
Just moved
Oh,
to Vancouver.
oh, okay. Nice. Welcome.
Thanks.
Yep. Hey, hi Kim. Hey, hi Amy. Hello. How are you?
Good, thanks. Good to be here.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yes, doing good. Thank you. Hey, hi Amy. How are you? Good to see many people. Let's wait for a few more minutes. They just started, so we can start. Great. Yep, good. Thank you. Doing good. Yes. Great. So we will be sharing our networking link as well. I guess Khadija has already shared. So feel free to share your LinkedIn profile. Feel free to connect with each other. That will help. Nice to see everyone. Okay, so let's start. Great. So are we good, Pacha, Khadija?
We are good to go.
Perfect. Yep. So let's start for our today's event. So today we have Pacha with us. So thank you, Pacha, for taking your valuable time for our community and sharing your experiences in research field. So we will be blessed to see all your experiences and all those things. So thank you so much for to having with us. Also, okay, so the people who all are new to this community, I would like to introduce about IterateUX. So first of all, welcome everyone to this session. Okay, so who we are. So as IterateUX community, we have different levels of people in our community who always help each other. And we have this platform, we have the Discord platform wherein we learn, connect, and grow with each other. So feel free to join our Discord, feel free to have fun and grow in your UX career within our community, take help and help each other. So we have weekly events, which is Thursday event. We have podcast, we have coffee chat on our Discord platform. Then we have ticketing system for our portfolio and resume review. So feel free to raise tickets for portfolio and resume reviews. We are here to help you in your UX career. We arrange design challenges as well, wherein people can come together, people can work with the team and they can work on some UX project, UI projects and different kinds of projects to work on some practical sessions. We arrange whiteboard challenges as well to gain more experience on whiteboard challenges, how to attend those whiteboard challenges, practice on those areas while interviewing on UX roles, so that we arrange. So feel free to arrange all the sessions wherever we have. Then moving ahead, before we begin, please unmute yourself when you need to share something. Also, we will have a Q&A session at the end for 15 minutes. So feel free to text all your questions in the chat window so that we will take that at the Q&A session. Also, we have a Discord platform, as I said, and be kind and fun and have fun with our events. Okay, so would like to share one more thing. We have shared networking link also in the chat. Feel free to add your LinkedIn profile so that everyone can connect with each other. Also, we have posted our social media links as well. Feel free to connect on our social media platforms as well, wherein we provide some more tips, tricks, or other areas also related to UX that will help you in your projects and your career. Definitely, we have events listed on Luma. Feel free to check those events as well. Also, feel free to share your findings, your learnings on your social media accounts and tag us so that everyone can aware of our community and everyone can get the help wherever they need in their UX career. So that's why we are here to help each and every person so that we can make a great place for our UXers. Moving ahead, we have next upcoming event, which is learning along the product research journey. So this entire month we were having research every week. We were having some topic about research. So that was the great part. And so we have a next session again on the research. So feel free to connect on that as well. Okay, so we are good. And also, before I hand over it to Pacha, our today's speaker, I would like to thanks our event community, CJ, Khadija, Luis, and May. These people have done a great job for organizing these events for this entire month and finding amazing speakers from each and every places around the world. So thank you so much for your great efforts. And yup, thank you. So I will hand over it to Pacha now. Let me just stop sharing. Pacha, all is yours. Go ahead.
Okay. So thanks for having me. So let me share my screen first. Okay. So everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Good. Okay. So today my talk, I like to share like how a US researcher think, because I guess many of people who want to or who are interested in this area have this kind of question, and they want to know like what's the research thinking and how does the US researcher thinking. So that's why I want to talk about these topics. So before that, let me introduce myself a little bit. So my name is Pacha, based in Taiwan, but currently work remotely. So I'm a freelancer right now. And my US research journey is already for a decade. So for the first 9 years, I worked in cybersecurity industry. So, and focusing on B2B US research, international US research, or US research in complex domain. And after this, I switched to freelance career and mainly focus on helping startups to find their product market fit or to help them scale up. So, as my freelance career, I focus on like B2C and strategic US research. So that's basically my background here. All right. So in today's agenda, since we are talking about the research thinking, and so I want to give you a glance at how a US researcher's inquiry process around like how do we respond to research requests and how do I scope a research study. Okay, so then before we start, I want you to know that research is all about the journey of inquiry. We ask lots of questions. We help stakeholders answer their questions. So researchers, we play a role that lead a team to navigate through ambiguity. So that's why if you want to be a researcher, then you need to be comfortable with the ambiguity you are facing, because you are the one who needs to lead a team to navigate through this, all those messes or ambiguities. All right. So then you may wonder, then, how does a US research project be initiated? Or when do stakeholders come to researchers, ask about, oh, we need to do a US research. All right. So then my experience that when stakeholders like actively reach out to you, to researchers, and ask about, hey, we may need to do some research, is because they feel unconfident about the product decision they are making. So they need some data points. They need some research to help them make a decision with confidence. Yeah. So I think US research is about how to help the team make better product decisions. And ultimately, we need to help a team, the company, solve the business problems. All right. And stakeholders often come to researchers with these questions in mind, which are quite typical. So for example, like they would come to us and ask, why the conversion rate is decreasing? We want to know what's the reason. Is there something wrong with our products? Or they would like to know what are the new product opportunities that we can step in. Maybe they wanna have some more innovative solution there, but they don't know how, or they don't know what they need to do. Or how can we increase the retention rate? If they see the retention rate doesn't look good, they would think about what's wrong with our product. Oh, the user really like our products? So they don't know the answer. So they come to us, they come to researchers. Or very typical, every time when you need to release a new feature, they will just ask, will user like these new features? Should we release these new features? Should we implement it? So you can see when stakeholders, they are making decisions, actually lots of uncertainties in their minds. So that's why they need US researchers' help to help them be able to answer this question more confident. So, and I will use a hypothetical case to walk you through like how does a US researcher think and how do we respond to a research request. So let's assume there is a job platform which want to specifically design for US people to find the remote jobs. And today, the company, they want to redesign the company profile page for those US job seekers to help them find the remote jobs they like. So that's the request you received from your stakeholders. Then if you were the researcher today, when you receive the request, what would you do next? And how would you respond to the request? What's the first step we need to do in order to respond? Okay. So the first step we'll do is we will scope the research. We need to define how big, how small the research needs to be. And this will build the foundation of whether you can come out an impactful research study or not. Why is it? It's because I always think doing research is like we are walking in the forest. You can head toward any direction, but without a North Star, you get lost. I see many researchers, especially for junior researchers, they get lost in their research. At the end, they don't know what they are trying to find or what they are trying to research because the scope is too big or too ambiguous that they cannot define. So that's why the scope, define the right scope is the most critical step to a successful research study. And be able to do that, the first step is you need to translate the business problem or research request. There are many US researchers who fail to come up with an impactful insight. It's not because they did a poor research study. It's not because they are bad at interviewing people. It's because they even fail to translate the business problem into a meaningful inquiry. There are some researchers only focusing on design, only focusing on how to make the design better, but they don't know about any business problem, or they don't know what their stakeholders are thinking. So which will lead the fail of a research. So that's why I try to emphasize here, the first step is to translate the business problem or the research request you are receiving. So the first step, we will start thinking about, okay, we need to do some study about the business problem we are facing right now. So I call it as inquire about the business problem. And be able to do this successfully, you need to think from 3 different dimensions. And the first major problem you need to think about, why do we want to redesign the company profile page? So when we receive requests, we always ask why. Why do we need to do this? Why do you want to do this research? So that's the key question. You need to have this in mind. And then you need to think from 3 dimensions to approach to help you answer these questions. So the first dimension is product. I think from product side. So what does the product need to succeed? What's their expectation to the company profile? If we use the hypothetical case here. And the second dimension is you need to think about users. Then what do users need from our company profile page to help them solve their problems? Who are the users, right? And the third dimension is about your stakeholders. What do your stakeholders need to help them make better decisions? And you need to combine all these 3 dimensions to help you come out the right research direction. Okay. And be able to do that, usually we will conduct a preliminary study here. So a preliminary a preliminary study could help you define the course of your inquiry. So I will use the hypothetical case to show you what kind of preliminary studies we will do to help us translate a business problem. Okay, so let's take a look the research request again. So a remote job platform for USers wants to redesign a company profile page for US job seekers to find remote jobs they like. So for when you see a remote job platform, it already indicates the industry, the market your company wants to play the game, right? So the first thing we will do is we will try to study about the industry, the market. And the question comes in our mind could be like, for example, like we were wondering like, okay, what's the current market landscape of job platforms? Or what's the current trend of remote jobs and job platforms? COVID changed everything, right? So everyone started working remotely. And how does this change the entire market landscape? And how did this change, all those job platforms? And also, you may also want to know, like, then how do our competitors do? How do those job platforms like Indeed, Monsters, how do they provide remote jobs to USers? What's their strategy? So that's all the things you would want to know from in your preliminary studies. Then move on, you see redesign the company profile page. It already indicates the product itself has some problems. So next step, you will want to look into, okay, what's the product and what's the problem here? So you may have more questions come to your mind. So what's the current behavior data of the company profile page? Because if there's a problem, maybe it's there are only few visitors, right? So you want to know what's the current performance of this product, or you will want to refer to some other previous studies to help you understand more about the existing problems. So sometimes we will also like look into support case to see like is there any user complaints to help us understand the problem. And also sometimes you also need to understand the technical capabilities here. So you will want to know like how do we generate a company profile page in the back end? Or you will want to know what are the technical limitations. So are we like automatically crawling company profile on the internet, or we need our clients to fit into those data to us? So that will indicate your technology capability. Also tell you what can your product do. Because sometimes researcher come out with suggestion, but that's but the product team cannot do it because there are too many technical limitations. Then which will make your insight less useful for them because there's nothing they can do to your suggestions, right? So understand technical capability is also very important. And also you will want to understand like more strategy size. You will want to know like what's the roadmap of the product, what's the success metrics, what's the North Star of the product. So this help you understand, okay, how do the team define their success and how can you help them achieve their goal? So that's are the things we will want to know. And moving forward, the last part is our users. So when talking about users, there are also many questions comes to our mind. So for example, like you will think, okay, why do they want to specifically design for US job seekers? Is it because they have different needs than general job seekers when looking for remote jobs? Maybe the team sees that there's an unmet needs for US job seekers, but that's something you need to find out. Or what do US job seekers care about when searching for remote jobs? What do they care? And what are the current pain points or unmet needs for our users? So that would be something we are interested to know from our users. So after doing all the studies, maybe they cannot help you get a direct answer, but at least you will know what type of forest you are into. At least you know, okay, what kind of game you are playing. So that's why I think this step is very important for researchers when we receive a research request. It helps us understand, okay, what kind of research might help us understand the product, the industry, and so that we could have more ideas about, okay, how should we scope the research? But are we done yet? We've already asked so many questions. Like I said at the beginning, researchers, we ask questions. We have lots of questions. So, but actually not, we have one more step. So we are, there's a missing part, right? We've already understand the product, the user a little bit, but what about the stakeholders? They are the most important part in these steps. You also need to understand, like, what do stakeholders need to help them make decisions? So we will think about, like, okay, so for stakeholders, they are requesting to have a research to redesign the company profile page. So what types of decisions do they need to make now? And how may this research impact the business or product strategy? So at this stage, what you need to do is you need to discover the hidden agenda your stakeholders don't express explicitly. So for example, like, what's their assumption behind the company profile? What's their beliefs? And what are the uncertainties they have in their mind? What do they worry about? What do they worry about this redesign, or what do they worry about the existing design? And what are those known facts they already know that you don't need to do research again to just find out what they've already know, right? Also, what do they need? What's their goal? So do they sound familiar? It's like when we want to create a persona for our users, right? Our persona also consists these all elements here. So your stakeholder is actually the first user you need to study. Before you go out to the field, before you interview your users, stakeholders is the first user you need to study, because they are the user of your research insights, right? So, but oftentimes we forget about it. Sometimes we feel like, oh, they are our boss. So we just need to accept, or we just need to if they have requests, we just do it. But no, I always think they are users of insights. If they think your insight isn't helpful, then your research kind of fell, right? So that's why I suggest you should do some stakeholder research at the very beginning to understand their needs, hypotheses, concerns, and strategies, so that you could ensure the alignment with the business, which will make your research more impactful later. All right, so now after all of this, the preliminary study stage is already finished. And the output could like this. You will come out a research context map, like just a mind map, to gather all the information you need, all the inquiries you have previously, to give you a holistic view about, okay, for company profile, what are the things we've already know? What are the things what do stakeholders want to know? So give you a holistic view will help you to scope the research into a more meaningful ways. You can come out with your own format, but that's how I do it. Sometimes I don't even have this. So I think it just depends on like how you collect, how many data you have, how would you like to organize this data. So before we move on to the next step, let's just do a quick review recap here. So the first step, to scope the research, you need to translate the business problem or research request. So first, to be able to do this, first, you need to inquire about the business problem. Second, do a preliminary study to help you define the course of your inquiry. Third, stakeholders are the first user you need to study. Don't forget this one. That's just the most important one, I think, from my point of view. All right. Then the second step in the when we are going to scope the research is to find an angle of the research inquiry. So this step is more like, how would you like to approach the problem? Because when you see things from different angle, actually you see very different view, right? So I can guarantee you that even if you give different researchers the same request, every researcher come out with different research question and research plan because they have their own perspective. And where does the perspective come from? Your personal experience and how you understand the problem and stakeholders gives you a perspective. And that decides the direction of your inquiry. So even the same request, but different researcher will come out totally different research plan. So that's just use our case as an example. So at the end, you may frame the research more specifically focusing on, like, I want to discuss about how do job seekers triage information to help them find the job they like. Because they may have, after the discussion with stakeholders, maybe they found out stakeholders' assumption or their own beliefs, job seekers are making rational decisions. So they want to focus on how do people triage information, how do people make decisions. So that's a more specific scope. Or you may frame this research, say, hey, we actually need to study to understand the entire job search process. Because we found out, maybe our assumption is that we actually found out that US job seekers may need an entirely different job search process, maybe because those are more creative people, so they need a different way to do this. So maybe you can frame this research to like, how can we tailor the job search process for US job seekers? So then which one is right? I think this is a difficult question to answer because there's no right or wrong way to scope your research. It all depends on about like, what do your team, what does your stakeholder needs and what does your team need? It's all about that, whether your research could help stakeholders make better product decisions. So that's why, because I've seen many junior researchers or my mentees would come to me and say, do I do this right or wrong? It's actually hard to answer because I don't know the context of like how your team, how your business make decisions, what do they need at that moment. So that's why it's hard to judge by this. And you, as a researcher, you don't, sometimes you don't need to like ask about like, I need to do it right. So it's just whether you understand why your stakeholders need. That's all about it. Okay. So that's why I say, I would suggest that we need to find just enough research scope. Why would I say just enough research scope? Because sometimes if you scope the research too large, you are too ambitious, then you cannot deliver insight just in time. For example, like your stakeholder may need to make this product decision after 2 weeks. But if you say, this research is really complicated, that I need 1 month to do this research, then when your research insight come out, they've already made this decision because they have that urgency to make these decisions. So which made you cannot deliver insight just in time. Or if you scope the research too broad, which means you want to cover too many research topics within one research, then your insight may be less relevant to the problem. You know, when we do the preliminary study, suppose that it help you understand the problem more, so that you need to come out, the research should be more relevant to the problem itself. But if you are too ambitious, you want to scope, I want to discuss too many topics within one research, then your insight may be less relevant to the problem. Sometimes you may make some detour to get the answer, to get to know what really matters. And also, if you scope the research too narrow, sometimes the research topic scope was too specific, then you can't see the wood for the trees, which also will make your insight less useful there. So, and this is my last words, also my last slide here. So since today our topic is about how to help the product team make better decisions. So my suggestion is that you need to think like a strategist, because your stakeholders, they're thinking about product strategies, and they come to you because they are not confident with the strategy they are going to. And if you are going to give suggestion about the next step for them, then you need to think like a strategist. You need to, in the preliminary study, we not only study the design itself, we also try to understand the industry, the market, the users, right? That's all help you to start think like a strategist, to help you to learn, okay, what kind of problem your stakeholders are facing. And if you were them, what kind of information do you need to help you make decisions? So that's how research, how a researcher think to help the product team to be successful. So I think that's my last slide. I think we end up sharing a little bit earlier, but I'm happy to accept any questions regarding my sharings here.
Sure, great. So, like very important areas you covered, Pacha. It is very important to understand like what our stakeholders needs, and then work accordingly for our users. Not directly jumping on the users, but understand our stakeholders also. Mm-hmm. It is very important. Yep, you covered very important areas for the research. Yeah, thank you so much for the amazing interact, and it is very informative for others to understand. Like sometimes people work with some groups, or people work with some like boot camps or something that time, but sometimes they don't understand like we need to consider stakeholders as well. So that is our first user as a UX people. Understand their goals, understand their needs, then start work like figuring it out like who will be our users, like end users, and then go ahead with that. So yep,
yeah,
that's very important. Great.
And yeah, because many people ignore that part, and they all think others know what they want to know. But my point is still Now we always say, oh, users don't know what they want. Stakeholders is the same, right?
Yeah.
Or something I need to know this, but sometimes that's not really what they need.
Yeah.
So that's why I suggest we should treat our stakeholders as our first users to study.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes it what I usually prefer, like sometimes we first move ahead with stakeholders interviews, getting all the information from them, and then moving ahead with the users so that we will understand better from business point of view, and then we can target our users group based on that. So that also helps to like capture those users based on their requirement. Yeah. That is true.
Correct.
Yeah, that's true. And also, like, it is very important to rather than just creating our own assumptions, right, on that particular product, better to understand and discuss those assumptions also with the stakeholders to get better understanding and to be on the same page when we work on the UX project. So very important. Thank you so much. It is such a great things to know, like how others are also doing. Yeah, great. Yep.
We have some interesting questions.
Okay, let's see what kind of questions we have.
All right, so Tasha says that this is amazing, and I've gone so far to the development stage before we realized that we had to pivot because the stakeholder wanted something else. So that's something we just discussed.
Right.
Tasha also asks if we could share these slides with all the people in the presentation.
Sure. No problem.
Okay.
Yeah, we will be. Sorry, Khadija. Sorry to interrupt.
But how do we share it after?
Yeah, we will be sharing this on our Discord group. So stay tuned.
Okay,
we will be sharing it out there. Sorry.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
So I hope I'm saying this right. Senia asks, what are the advantages of creating a research plan versus doing the research without one? I was asked that in a job interview once, and it was hard to answer. I only came up with several trade-offs.
That's a very interesting job interview questions. Okay, so creating a research plan, I think it has some advantages. First, get alignment. If you have a research plan, then you will use that to discuss with your stakeholders to align with everyone's expectation, and also to confirm the timeline, the execution plan. So that's one advantage. And the other advantage is that I think creating a research plan actually helps a researcher think. Yes, like I say, we do lots of preliminary studies, right? We try to scope the research, then we need to define our research. So a research plan is the output of all of your inquiry process and all of your thinking. So that would help the researchers to think, to consolidate all the information you have. So that's the second advantage. And the third advantage is it helps you keep track of your research. So like I say, doing research is like walking in the forest. You will get lost very easily. A research plan is something help you keep on track of your research. Yeah, so that's so far I can think of right now. Not sure whether this answered your question or not.
Thank you so much. I was asked the opposite. So they didn't ask me about advantages of having research plan, but rather they asked me what are the disadvantages of having research plan. And I only could come up with like that the fact that you spend time doing research plan while you can spend this time doing actual research. And another one was once you, depending on company, if once you submitted the research plan, it might be not a flexible way to do research. So if there is some ethical concerns involved, like testing with humans, you would have to resubmit the research plan if something changes. And these were the only two things I could come up with. but I don't think they were satisfied with my answer. So that's why I decided to ask you what are the disadvantages of having one.
Oh, okay, okay. So it's a disadvantage of creating a research. Oh,
interesting, right?
Yeah, interesting. So doing the research, but actually, so I can share my personal experience. So, I currently work for startups, right, as a freelancer. So everything needs to move very faster. So actually, I don't create a research plan though. So most of the time we just discuss and we move. So, or maybe there are some sort of research plan, but just not a thorough plan. Like for example, we will just discuss, okay, what kind of research we are going to do, like what are the users we need to interview. Then we'll start working on that.
Okay, so it's the efficiency, I guess.
Yeah,
speed. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
I would like to answer one more thing out here for you. So this is again my personal experience. So whenever we share research plan with the stakeholders or with the business team, right? So we mention one line in our research plan. So these are the ballpark estimations which we are coming up right now. So if there are any inconsistency, if there are any other changes, we will definitely update this based on that. So sometimes we don't get users, sometimes we get users, or maybe sometimes some other things happen, right? So there, anytime, whenever you are sharing any plan or any estimation, you can mention this line. So these days may differ based upon the other circumstances or something that way. Maybe this is a good practice wherein they will also understand some areas where we those things are not in our hand, like getting users, getting right users, or like those areas. So those are the always challenges for us, always to get right users, and at that particular time, always like all the technical constraint, people should be at the same time zone. If different time zones, then all those things also like varies, right? So yeah, so always it is good, maybe you can just mention that, so that if plans changes, maybe you can just refer them, like, see, we have already told you about this area. So these are some of the constraints which we always face while taking research and all. Yeah, that will help.
Thank you so much, Padma.
Yep, most welcome.
Okay, so moving on to our next question. Caleb asks, optimizing a feature can allow old users a better experience, but overdeveloping a feature can make that experience obtuse for newer users. How do you bridge and balance that gap?
Yeah, so this is also very, very typical question, asked in the organization. So first we discuss with stakeholders, what's the current focus here, the priority. So for example, sometimes when we check the data, we found that the retention rate is quite good. Then, which means we probably don't need to optimize features right now to help us enhance the retention rate. Or sometimes we found out the stakeholders, they want to target more new users. Their current mission is just acquiring as many more users as they can. So, but then how do we balance this is we will try to investigate whether our existing users satisfy with the existing features, right? Unless they are not to this point that could make them leave our platform or our products, we probably will just keep there. And we want to put more focus on developing maybe a new feature or new other stuff could help us acquire newer users. So I think that's how we try to balance that. We try to look into data. We try to understand like how satisfied the existing users are or not. And we try to understand the business priority and trying to find the balance between here. So that's my answer to this. Does this answer your questions?
Okay, we can move on to the next question.
Okay.
So Yu Ching asks, would you mind sharing some experiences about the working process while at work? What are the most challenging projects that you have encountered?
The most challenging project. Okay. So I do have the most challenging projects recently, just from my freelance career helping for startups. But the challenges comes from the stakeholders. So that maybe that's why I emphasize stakeholders so much. So no, because for startups, okay, so some startups, they are just about to start introducing US concept or US research concept, right? And most of CEO or founders, they don't believe in US research. They believe in MVP. We just deliver an MVP and we test. We test it in the market, then we will know the answer, right? So, and my job is, my job for startups are always, they hired me trying to demonstrate the value of US research to their upper management, to convince them we have a need to hire a dedicated US researcher. So one of my job is then I need to demonstrate the value of the US research to the CEO, to the upper management, right? So that's the most stressful project. And those CEO, before I start working on that project, I think their CEO still kind of don't believe in US research. So that's why I say it's stressful, because I try to prove the value of US research badly. So because I need to show the value to them. So I spend lots of efforts, understand their needs and trying to make sure I can come out insights differently from what I can give the learnings that they don't have right now. So that's some challenging project that I've currently, I previously encountered. Yeah. So that's why I say understand your stakeholders is the most important part. And then scoping the right research, just enough research scope is also the most important part. That could help you, show the value of US research. Not sure if this is enough, or you want to talk to me more about my working process.
Maybe you can unmute yourself and just have a discussion with Pacha.
Yeah, so I'm just curious about because you said that you have to prove yourself of the value of doing the UX research, right? So standing from the CEO position, are they more looking forward to the metrics that you provide, or how could they actually believe in you?
Yeah, right. So because they understand it's a qualitative research, so metrics, I think it's fine. What's not their concerns so far, but the thing is, I tried a lot to collect those known facts, what they've already know, because I need to make sure when I come out my insights after the research, I will show the new learnings, because for startups, they care about learnings, right? Even every MVP, after they release the MVP, they will discuss, okay, what's our learnings there? So as well as the research, after the research, they will see what are the new learnings we have. Are we happy about those learnings? So that's why I start, collecting, okay, what's the known facts you already know, and want to build on that known facts, find those unknowns and make them a new learning for them. So that's what I do. I try to collect lots of known facts about what they've already know about their users, what are they've already about the products there. So that's basically what I did.
Okay, thank you. That's really helpful for me to understand more about user research. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay, so the next question is by Debrupa, and she asks, building on Senia's question, I'm just curious to know what could be some use cases of proceeding with a research plan and some use cases of proceeding without one.
Okay. So, for example, like previously when I work in B2B UX research, I create lots of research plans. Because to B, it's actually a little bit more complicated because there are more stakeholders you need to handle with. So that's why I create a research plan and include all the parties there to explain what kind of research we're going to do and what kind of help I need from them. So basically it's about, I use a research plan to tell them I am about to start this research and here are the helps I need from you. For example, like recruiting, I may need a sales team to help me recruit, or I may need a marketing team to help me recruit. So that's why I use that to tell them, to explain what kind of support I need and why do we want to do this. So that's a tool I would use. But for startup, like I mentioned earlier, we don't actually have any research plan, but because everyone already quite know like what we are going to do. So we are just some very casual way to do this. So those are the use cases I can think of right now. Hope this answers your questions.
What I meant was things like Zaltman's metaphor elicitation technique or the 5 whys, things like that.
Say it again.
What I meant was more in line with things like the Zaltman metaphor elicitation technique or the 5 whys or things like that.
Oh, 5 whys Zaltman. You mean that?
Yes, that like interviewing techniques or things like that you like to use.
Oh, interview techniques. So Zaltman not used very much with some, it's a more like marketing research scope. And 5 whys, I think 5 why I use more in the previous inquiry process. I told you, like we ask like, why do you want to do this? But the technique I use the most should be cognitive interview, because most of my research are around understanding how people make decisions. So that's why I really need to understand how do they, what's their cognition, how do they make decisions. So I use cognitive interview a lot compared to other technique.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Lala also had a question asking what is one of your favorite tools in your UX researcher toolbox, especially for startups?
I think I just answered that one.
She did.
Yeah.
All right. I feel like I've missed a question. Which tool did you use to create the research context map?
Oh, context map. I use S-Mind. Any mind mapping tools are good. S-Mind and Current Mirror can also help you do the mind mapping. Right. Yeah.
Speaking of research tools, I came across this research tool called Taget. Has anyone heard of it? I'm using it to code qualitative research and code out interviews and make a code book. It's an open source tool. It's really interesting.
Okay. I use Dovetail. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think we are done with the questions. Do we have any other questions for Pacha? Tasha asks, how do you spell Asmire? How do you spell the tool you just mentioned?
What's Asmire?
Oh, the tool that you use that you just mentioned.
Oh, Dovetail.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, correct. Dovetail. The my main being tool, Xmind. Let me type in Xmind. Xmind.
Okay. And also, I would suggest feel free to share your thoughts, feel free to share your learnings with everyone. Tag us on social medias, any platform, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever you can, Twitter. Let other also get all the knowledge which we are sharing. Like Pacha shared amazing information about research. So it is very important people to understand these areas. So feel free to share on your social medias. Let other also connect and grow. Great.
Okay, thank you all.
Okay.
Today.
Yep. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pacha. Stay connected
Thank you
on
for
our Discord.
having
Yep. Thanks everyone. And have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful evening. Yep. Yep.
Bye.
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 Bye, guys.
Great.
Have you stopped recording?